Today on Dr. Phil.
My daughter just stabbed me in the chest.
What could possess a child
I was afraid for my life.
You had the knife, but you were afraid for your life.
to stab her mother in the heart?
Alyssa says that you punched her in the face.
False. Your lying doesn't help anybody.
She digs her nails into her neck. I had marks.
This is Attack Mommy show. I'm getting that now.
I hear her confronting you with the truth. That's what I hear. Let's do it. If we're going to do something here that matters, then we got to deal with the truth.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
If I can help get this family back on track, are you willing to do that?
Ready, three, take.
This is going to be a changing day in your life. I want to start by having you take a look at some disturbing photographs. It's a picture taken in the hospital of our first guest, Beka. Now look closely and you're going to see the wound from being stabbed in the chest just inches from her heart. The knife was 6 inches long. It's said to have gone in most of the way. Now, the person who committed this shocking crime fought with Beka in her house, grabbed a kitchen knife, and then stabbed her with it. The attacker was her daughter Ariel. Listen to the chilling 911 call.
911, where's the emergency?
My daughter just stabbed me in the chest. I can hear it in my lungs when I breathe.
Where is she at right now?
She ran off naked.
All right, stay on the line with me, okay?
Ow. It hurts. Ow.
Ma'am, they'll be there any minute, okay? Just stay with me. William, are you still online? 911, did they disconnect? Yeah, I don't hear anything at all.
Well, let's go back to that night. It was just November of 2010 when Beka was stabbed. Take a look at what happened.
My oldest daughter, Ariel, stabbed me last year.
My mother was very mad because I did go out that night. She's yelling at me, and I'm trying to get out of the house, and she rips my shirt off. So I grabbed a knife to defend myself, and she tackled me to the ground. She grabbed me by my throat and pinned me to the wall, and my first instinct was to stab her. I stabbed her in her left lung.
The blade was about 6 inches long, and it sunk almost all the way in. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Could not believe she stabbed me.
Well, that's difficult to watch, right?
Very.
How do you feel about that now?
I'm very angry still about it. I hadn't heard the 911 tape before. I didn't really remember calling 911.
But you did, and at that point, you could hear air escaping through the wound, right? So you knew your lung was punctured. You knew that you were in trouble.
Yes,
Did you believe you were going to die
I did.
at that point?
I did believe.
I want to get to what happened the night you got stabbed. In fact, we have a police report here. How did this happen? You weren't just standing there and she came up and stabbed you. You were in an
Right.
altercation, right?
We were in an
You were trying to keep her
altercation.
from leaving.
Trying to keep her from leaving the house.
Next, what happened?
She had a pajama top on. I ripped the top off, and I told her she is not leaving the house without a top on. And she took her pajama bottoms off and said, I'll leave the house naked if I want to.
She first grabbed scissors, right?
Grabbed a pair of
Then she
scissors.
grabbed one knife.
Grabbed one
You
knife.
knocked that out of her hand. Then she grabs another knife.
She grabs yet another knife.
Okay.
And she knocked my cell phone out of my hand. And when I ran to get the cell phone, she had gotten the knife and she ran to the front door. And I was trying to get the cell phone because I had her dad on speakerphone, trying to talk some sense into her. When she ran to the front door, she was completely naked, had a knife in her hand, and there was no way in hell I was going to let her run out of the house in a neighborhood with a knife, naked. And so the only thing I could grab on her naked body was her hair. And so I grabbed her hair and pulled her, and she turned around and popped me
Okay,
in the chest.
and this is what I'm wanting to understand. And look, there's no justification for you being stabbed. Okay, I'm not blaming the victim here. I'm trying to analyze the situation because it is a mirror to a lot of what happens in this family, right? Okay, I'm talking about your judgment here. You have a daughter that has gone off the rails at this point. There's yelling, screaming, gnashing of teeth, right?
Right.
She's now gotten stripped down naked, holding a butcher knife, and so you charge her.
I did.
Okay, As you hear that characterized by me, how does that sound to you?
Sounds like the stupidest thing anybody could do.
And the police report, they show up, said there was a juvenile standing inside without any clothes on. Said they asked the juvenile if she stabbed her mom. She told me yes. I observed a female lying on the floor in front of the kitchen. She was bleeding from the chest area, unresponsive. 6-inch kitchen knife was located on the front porch. It had reddish brown stain on it. So, I mean, this is how it reads, but the only thing missing from here that would normally be there is woman on kitchen floor expired. We also have a video of your husband, the father of these children, getting physical as well, restraining one of your other daughters.
Yes.
Okay, I want to take a look at that right now to see what's going on there.
Abby, no. What are you going to do if you get up? Huh?
Quit. Quit.
Abby, all you have to do is sit down.
No.
Why?
Because if I sit down, I'm not going to see Katie. Will you stop it? You're insane. Stop.
You're not getting up.
Breathe.
You're not getting up. You're not leaving the house. And you're not going to South Dakota to see Katie.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
That's enough. Becca's ex-husband, the father of these children, Jody, is joining us now via Polycom. Jody, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
I want both of you to understand, I believe this is a family in crisis. I believe you have let this thing unfold to the point that I think lives are in danger here. I think lives are in danger here. I think somebody is going to get seriously injured or dead in this situation if something doesn't happen to change this.
We're just not sure how to deal with this anymore.
Yeah, well, you're asking way late in the game. Okay, this ship has sailed. The time that these girls needed a different direction, a different environment, a different management plan was when they were 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. When you see teenagers this out of control, it didn't just happen now. This is a product of their upbringing. And when I look at this and you're charging your daughter naked with a butcher knife and you get stabbed, you've got one of your daughters, Jody, on the couch restraining her, which is just building frustration through the roof. I see huge red flags all over the place here. What I'm concerned about is, can we do something to change the dynamic in this family? And I believe we can. There is a flicker of hope here, but it is very late in the game. Ariel is not the only one that has Beka so afraid. As I said, she says that when her twin daughters are angry, she sees pure evil in their eyes.
The twins never obey the rules. They're awful kids. I see evil in Abby and Alyssa's eyes when they're angry, when they're upset. Their eyes darken. I'll hear little noises in the middle of the night, and I think one of them's coming in to kill me. Alyssa rolled her eyes, and I said, if you do, just make it quick. That's all I ask. She's gonna make me suffer like Ariel. Alyssa sneaks out in the middle of the night. Abby's stolen probably close to $100 total out of my purse. We've had to put locks on our bedroom doors. I pulled Abby and Alyssa out of school to homeschool them because Alyssa was having sex and smoking pot. Abby was skipping classes and failing. We can't trust them to go anywhere. One morning, I noticed that Alyssa wasn't in her room, and so I opened the closet door. She was laying in there. Some boy was in there naked. He had snuck in the middle of the night and had sex with my child. We have tried the grounding, the taking things away. Nothing is working. My kids don't care if I live or die.
Now, the twins have a completely different point of view. They say their mother is the one who is completely out of control. Let's hear from them.
Me and Alyssa are both locked down. We are unable to do anything.
Lockdown, in my parents' terms, is nailed windows shut, no phone, no computer. I have to share a bed with my mom. She locks the doors. I sleep with the keys under her pillow.
My mother tries to control me by taking everything away from me, by yelling or hitting.
My mom held me against the fridge and dug her nails into my neck. She called me a dyke, lesbian, whore, and slut.
My mother hit me over the head with a screwdriver. I couldn't take it anymore, so we just snuck out and ran off.
Only contact we have with people is our family.
They think it'll straighten me up. It just makes me even angrier and more defiant.
My mom found out about me having sex at school. There was a condom in my bag and they found it. 2 weeks ago, she started homeschooling me. I think she's gone way too far.
Okay, that's their characterization of you. What do you think?
I did not hit that child over her head with a screwdriver.
Okay, well, here's what they've said. Alyssa says that you've punched her in the face.
False.
Ariel says that when she was 12, you grabbed her by the throat and by the hair. True or false on grabbing her at 12?
Grabbing her at 12, probably her hair, not her neck.
How old is Ariel?
Ariel is almost 17.
Okay, and she's been engaged, right?
Yes.
And you let her fiance move into the house.
I did. That was not my choice. I never wanted him to. That was her father.
Jody, is that true? You let this fiance move into the house with your underage daughter?
Yes, sir.
What was your reasoning? What was your reasoning about that?
Dr. Phil, I felt really guilty. I've moved these girls around a lot. She'd been seeing him for a considerable amount of time, and that's no excuse, but I wanted to help him get a decent job so he could take care of her later in life.
So they'd been together since she was how old?
Since 3 months before she stabbed me. So she was not even 16 yet.
Okay. So at 16, she's engaged.
Yes.
Okay.
I do not like
See,
it.
Here's the thing, guys. I think you've lived with this so long that you're numb and desensitized to it. No matter how guilty you feel, Jody, parenting from guilt just leads to more and more problems. So that's one thing I want you to take away today. Are you an alcoholic?
No.
You're not an alcoholic?
No.
Because your daughters say you have a drinking problem.
I drink a couple glasses of wine a night, but I am not an alcoholic.
Okay, and you said that one of your girls had stolen alcohol from you.
Right, that was hidden.
Okay, and you referred to it as your stash.
Well, I had a little stash that, oh my gosh, that I keep hidden in the corner of a closet that I never got into, rarely.
Well, you have to understand, somebody that deals with a lot of addiction, when I hear somebody saying that they hide and stash their alcohol.
From the children, so the kids don't get into it.
Yeah, okay.
I do drink. I will admit that I drink. That started after the twins had me arrested, which that was later.
So this is just something that you've started recently? All right. Is your daughter, Alyssa, is she bisexual?
Yes.
Okay. And she's how old?
15.
Uh-huh. And have you called her all these disparaging names? She says you've called her a whore and a slut and a dyke.
Called her a whore and a slut.
Did you pour a soda on Alyssa's head?
Yes, I did.
And your theory in that? Tell me the outcome you're seeking when you do that.
It was humiliation. At the time, in my thinking, it was either punch her teeth out or pour a soda on her head.
Well, given those choices, I would vote for the soda. But fortunately, those aren't the only choices. But that's what I mean. I think y'all are in this so deep that it seems like it's almost doesn't even seem out of the ordinary for you. Okay, tell me about forcing them to smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol.
When I found that they had stolen alcohol, which I found that they had that and some cigarettes, and I made them go out into the garage and smoke a cigarette, inhaling, and take a swig of alcohol. When I found, because I've heard of other parents doing that, and I've heard of my friends saying that when their parents did that to them when they were young, they never wanted to touch the stuff again.
So that would be known as aversion therapy, or immersion therapy is another word for it, where you just give them so much of it, it makes them sick. Okay, so that was your theory, right? Because you've heard some people. So instead, you just said, go out in the garage, have a drink and a cigarette, and that'll teach you, by God.
I sat out there with them. I didn't know what to do.
Do you recognize that you're making some really bad decisions?
Yes, I
Some really dysfunctional decisions? And they're not working, correct?
Correct.
Look, when teenagers act out, girls go to wild fashion, promiscuity, bad language, and then ultimately become combative themselves. And that's happening here with these girls. It's all happening. They're acting out against something. What? I want to hear from them. When we come back, we're going to meet Beka's daughters. Now, I'm going to ask you to sit in the audience when we come back right down here in just a minute, because I want to talk to them alone. I want them to stand on their own here, and I want to hear what they have to say. Then we'll have an all-skate. We'll be right back. Well, Mom Beka was stabbed in the chest with a kitchen knife by her daughter, barely missing her heart. Serious life-threatening wound. Now, you'd think her daughter would be sorry, but she's really not. Take a look.
When I had stabbed my mom, I got over it by not talking to her at all about it.
After 2 days in juvie, Ariel did come to the hospital. She just kind of sat there and watched. Just watched the doctors take care of me and nurses come in, and she just didn't have anything to say to me.
I just kind of shut it out and acted like it didn't happen.
Every time it's brought up, she said, I said I was sorry, but I've never heard her say, I'm so very sorry for doing this to you.
My mom still isn't over it.
When I get attitude from Ariel, it feels like I'm getting stabbed all over again.
Now, Abby, Alyssa, and her sister Ariel are here. Your mother's right down here. Your family seems to be a real mess right now. Would you guys agree with that?
Yes, of course.
Now, let me ask you something. You stabbed your mother in the chest with a butcher knife.
Yes.
Are you sorry about it?
I am.
Tell me how you feel about it.
Well, when it first happened, I didn't care. Now, I'm very remorseful for it.
Why did you stab your mother?
I was afraid for my life.
Okay, you said it was self-defense.
Yes.
You felt like you were defending your life.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so she had a weapon?
She did not.
She didn't have a gun or a knife? How were you afraid for your life? You had the knife, she had nothing, but you were afraid for your life.
There have been many times when she has physically abused me. One point, Alyssa was there. She had held me by my throat and pinned me to the couch. There are many times when she has attacked me, and I was afraid that it would happen again.
When she has choked you before, has it been to the point that you thought, she could choke me out here? I mean, this could be it?
Yes.
Do you say, is that true or not?
Absolutely false.
Okay, now let me stop you guys here before we go one step further. We've got to tell the truth here. And there aren't versions of the truth. You have either choked her out or you haven't. One of you is lying. And I want you to be honest. And if the truth is somewhere in the middle, then explain that. But don't tell me two versions of what can only be one story.
I would like to say she has told people many times that I've choked her. She even told the detective when she stabbed me that I had choked her. And he asked me about that, and I said, of course I didn't. And he said, I didn't think so. There were no marks on her neck. And oftentimes I do lift up their chin and make them look at me, but it's not to the point where I'm grabbing their necks or anything like that. I put my fingers under their chin and lift their heads up to make them look at me. Wrong or not, that's, fine, but I do not choke you.
Okay, what do you want to say, Abby?
Whenever she lifts her heads up, she digs her nails into our neck to make us look. Because if we push down, it'll just get worse. She digs her nails into our neck. I had marks on my
Do you
neck.
consider it violent when she does this?
Yes, I do.
I mean, it's aggressive. It's violent and aggressive.
It is.
Are they lying about that, or is that their perception? Is that their possible perception?
I think it's their perception, because when I try to lift their heads up and they're pushing their heads down, my nails are going to get dug in there.
Okay, well, let me just say, we got to start clicking some things off here. That is dead wrong.
Okay.
You don't put your hands on these children in anger. You don't, look at me, that's not going to work. You should not be subjected to that. That's wrong on her part. You need to not do that. We're not going to do that. We're going to do other things instead. We'll be right back. Now, this isn't all about your parents. Are you two out of control?
I don't go out and do drugs. I have many plans for my future. I try to straighten up. I try to do good in school, but it's hard to whenever I'm being homeschooled.
Do you have any respect for your parents at all?
At the moment, no.
Do you have any respect for their right to lead the family, to their position of authority?
No, because look at us, look at where we are now. I mean, we're not good, and if they're leading our family, then they're not doing a good job. I mean,
Beka gave us a mountain of evidence to prove that twins Abby and Alyssa are in fact out of control. Have you been sexting online?
Not for quite a while, not for about 6 months, but I have been on my phone.
You're sexting online, right?
Yes, sir.
And you're doing so, one of the people you're doing so with is someone that goes by the screen name of Katie. Have you met her?
No, I haven't met her in person, but we've known each other for almost 2 years now.
How do you know it's her?
Because I've seen countless pictures of her.
Well, but how do you know they're pictures of her?
Because each picture, she'll send me a picture of her at work, and then she'll send me one of her in the morning. I don't see how a pedophile can get hundreds of pictures of the same girl, just like that.
Oh, wow. Trust me, they can have catalogs of pictures. You have no idea how far these people will go. You ran away yesterday or last?
It was about a week ago.
A week ago?
I ran away again.
Where'd you go?
I went to my girlfriend's house.
Do y'all have friends that have peaceful families?
Yes.
What do you think about that compared to your house?
I'm not used to a functioning family, and when I walk into people's houses and their family is getting along, I feel like there's something wrong with that. It makes me feel a lot worse about my situation.
Can I say something, Dr.
Yeah,
Phil?
please.
I am pretty much a gourmet cook. I cook home-cooked meals every night for these children, every single night. When they do have friends over to the house, their friends want to move in and stay with us because we do have a good home life.
Okay, now I have something to say.
Okay.
It's because you're two-faced. To everybody else, you are a saint. But as soon as you're alone and you get that wine, you are somebody completely different. You aren't this person that our friends see. You're manipulative and extremely verbally and physically abusive to all of us.
Well, we have to take a break. Mom says she's a gourmet cook, but it's going to take a lot more than meatloaf and mashed potatoes to fix this problem. We'll be right back.
My mom is manipulative, very two-faced, and extremely controlling. She cares about us when she's in one of those kinds of moods. She is a saint, and then she is a completely different person. I feel that my mom craves attention, and that's all she wants.
Well, I'm here with Ariel, who admits that she stabbed her mother in the chest. She says she did it in self-defense and fear for her life. Abby, who says that she has been sexting since the age of 13 and has an ongoing relationship with someone her parents fear might be a pedophile, but she thinks is just a young girl that is a friend. And Alyssa, who says that she is bisexual and that her mother calls her demeaning names. Mother Beka is here. Jody, the biological father, is on the phone. This family is in crisis. Do you think this situation can improve?
No, I honestly don't.
You really don't?
No one's going to change in our family. We are stubborn. We're not going to change. It might go back to good just for a little bit, but things will always get worse.
What have y'all ever done as a family to try to make things better?
We started family therapy several months ago, And that didn't work out because everybody wanted it to be my problem.
You are extremely demeaning. If we don't say something that pleases you, which is impossible to do anyways, then we are the worst kids in the world. You shouldn't have had us. The twins were mistakes. You wish we would have killed you.
You are twisting my words around. The
No,
twins
these are exact
you
quotes.
twist our words around.
Okay.
The other night,
Okay, this is Attack Mommy show. Okay, I'm getting that now. I'm getting this.
how do you think we feel whenever we try to tell you
That look
something
on your
you told
face
us?
scares me to death.
Why? Because it's your face?
You know, we're here to try to get help. You know, we know we're not coping with everything well. We're not doing the right things, and we're looking for answers on that as well. But you guys have to work with us on that as well.
Things were better until she started drinking. That's when our tight little family fell apart. When she started drinking and when you got arrested for possession and DUI, and then said that someone had beat you up so that you could hide the bruises after you fell off the porch drunk.
Is that true?
True.
We'll be right back. Okay, you know, I asked you before, and I just decided to wait until they were out here to ask you again if you have a drinking problem.
Didn't think I did. I stopped drinking for a very long time, but here in the recent months, I started drinking again.
You told me earlier, you said you have maybe a glass of wine or two.
I have two glasses of wine a night.
Well, 2 glasses of wine don't have you getting busted for DUI and falling off the porch drunk. Come on.
This was different circumstances. I went to the dentist that morning and had a tooth pulled, and they put me on painkillers, and I had 2 glasses of wine, and decided after 2 painkillers and 2 glasses of wine that it was a good idea to get in the car and drive. And I was busted for the DUI, and I have paid the consequences for that, and I have never driven drunk again.
You told Abby that someone was trying to kidnap you and that they had pushed you on the ground and stomped on your stomach, and Abby cried her eyes out because she thought that's what actually happened.
Your lying doesn't help anybody. You see what you're doing to the twins. Did you see this? Look at her.
You need to quit yelling at me. For real.
That's pretty funny coming from you.
Stop it right now, Ariel. Knock it off.
Knock what off?
This attitude.
Well, I hear her confronting you with the truth. That's what I hear. If you have a drinking problem, say so. I can help you with that. I'm concerned about this stash term.
But it really, it was hard. I never drink hard liquor, and it was a little stash I kept hidden.
Becca, for God's sakes, woman.
I don't drink hard liquor.
Look, hear me. If you've got 3 girls that you think are out of control and can abuse alcohol, then don't have it in the home. Okay. You say, I never drink it.
I did pour it out. I poured every drop of it. I poured out $500 worth of liquor.
The fact that you're using liquor and stabbing in the same sentence and we're talking about your family should tell you that this is not going well. Are you an alcoholic, or are you just playing the victim here because these girls are dogpiling?
I'm an alcoholic.
Are you drinking on a regular basis?
Yes.
Is it changing your personality?
Yes.
Do you need help with it?
Yes.
If I offer it to you, will you take it?
Yes.
Because it can give you the opportunity. It can give you the opportunity to come to these girls clear-eyed and say, look, we've not done this right. Here's my point. I don't want you to be hurting. I don't want you to feel like that you're being judged for your sexuality and having to run away.
Because I'm bi. That we're ruining her life for us being bi. And a few days ago, well, more like a week or so ago, she said that I could not drive until I started dating men.
Because they say they're bisexual, and I said I could handle gay or straight. I don't know which team to root for. It's very confusing.
I understand that that's confusing to you. This can get better. You are quite wrong. This can get better because you can get better, can't you?
I don't know.
You can get better. You can choose. Look, when you choose the behavior, you choose the consequences. So if you start choosing different things, you get different results. You make different choices. You can behave your way right out of this mess. We'll be right back.
I love my mom very much, and I understand where she's coming from, that she does all these things because she loves me.
We might hate her at some points, but we wouldn't kill her.
I've never had thoughts like that.
Well, that's 15-year-old Abby and her twin sister Alyssa talking about how they've never let violence at home go too far. They say that's not in their minds. Do you realize that your mother could have died that night?
Yes, I do. Yes, I understand.
She could have died, and you might well have spent a huge portion, if not the rest of your life, in prison.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you get that, right? And so that means this situation has to dramatically change. And I talked to your mother about the fact that when things get that tense, you've got to de-escalate the situation, not escalate it. And she said you were going to leave the house naked. Well, I'd rather you leave the house naked than spend the rest of your life in prison.
Well,
right?
it was leave the house and not have any fighting, or her rip my clothes off and me leave the house naked.
Yeah, and I get it. And look, you have to understand that you have to own your part of this. You have to own your part of this. That's what I'm telling you. You guys have to say, look, I'm old enough that I need to look at my own behavior, my own choices, and start behaving differently. Now, you say, Dr. Phil, that's real good. Get her out of our face. Give us a chance to make some different choices, right? I get that. I'm getting to her. She's already said she feels picked on the whole show here. So we spend a lot of focus on her. But I'm saying you guys have to understand that you have the right to choose. And when you choose everything that comes with that choice. I've told this before. My father has passed away. And we would get in these arguments. And there would be a lot of face-to-face and yelling and screaming because I wouldn't back down and he wouldn't back down. And he was about my size. It was like two bulls. And one day, I made what I call a life decision. A life decision. One day I said, I am through arguing with my father. I'm not going to do it anymore. I refuse to do it. I'm not going to do it. I don't care what he does. I am not going to do it. Life decision. I had the right to not react. And so I did that. And the bait would be out there, and I just wouldn't take it. The bait would be out, I just wouldn't take it. And after about 3 weeks, I was in my office, and he came and stuck his head in the door. He leaned and said, "You're not going to fight with me anymore, are you?" And I said, no, I'm not. He said, okay. And it never happened again. He died not too long after that, and I can't tell you how glad I was that I chose peace in my relationship with him in that period of time. So nobody's immune. And I made the choice. I said, I'm better than that. I'm just not going to do it. And you can make that same choice. And you can make that choice. You, as the adult, have to de-escalate. And if you're at a point now that, as you said, that you do have a drinking problem, that it's changing your personality. It's making you different with them. And Lord knows they give you enough stimulus to want to drink. I get that. But as the adult, you have to rise above that. You need to set an example and take care of yourself. And if you are confused about sexuality here, then instead of judging it, arguing about it, threatening about it, and punishing it, why don't you educate yourself about it? Why don't you become enlightened about it? Why don't you try to learn what they're experiencing? Why don't you try to gain some insight to it? Some acceptance of it. And, you know, maybe one or both of them are bisexual. Maybe they're not. I mean, you don't, they're very young. But what they know is where they are now, right? And open yourself up to understand. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to say, I would choose that for you. I'm so glad. I'm not saying that. But you need to at least be open enough to learn about it and educate yourself about it. Because if, in fact, that is true, it isn't a choice. It's a reality. So I'm wanting you to say, look, it's not about us picking on you. It's about saying, I want to empower you to be the mother that you can be and that these three deserve. And I want to empower the three of you to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm proud of who I am, and I'm proud of what I'm contributing to this family.
That's what we do. Me and Alyssa are proud of who we are, and we try to be the best that we can be. But they stifle it. They try to dye our hair blonde, give us a new wardrobe. And it's awful.
We have never done that.
You have tried to. You have talked about it. You talk about sending us away repeatedly.
Okay, and but I'm telling you, you hear me saying I'm going to work on that. But what I'm telling you here is that you have to be willing to make responsible choices yourself. And being combative and yelling and screaming and with each other or with your mother, all this, there's a better way to respond than that, right? You know it's not working. This isn't a peaceful family, right? And you have to own your part of that. You do own your part of that, right? You realize you're not perfect in this.
I realize that, yes.
You realize that?
I do. I know I'm not perfect, and I wish my mom would accept me for that.
Okay, well, and your sexuality is not an imperfection, by the way. I don't want to put that in the same sentence. I don't see that way. Maybe you do. But you've got to be willing to say, look, if we're going to have a plan here and lean forward, I said I didn't have any hope, but I will participate in this and put one foot in front of the other. Because this show, as with all of our guests, this isn't the end, this is the beginning. We're going to start a process here that can involve a lot of things that we'll have to design and develop. One of those is getting you straight with this alcohol issue, because that doesn't help anything. I'm going to talk to you about that after the show. But you got to be willing to say, look, if you put something in front of us, a hill to climb, we'll climb it. We just don't want to be the only ones doing the climbing. You need to work on these guys too. And I'm saying I get that, but I need y'all to participate as well. Fair enough? Okay. All right, as I say, we're out of time, but this is just a beginning. You'll see these folks again. We'll be right back. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming here today, and Jody as well. It's never easy to confront all of this stuff and deal with it. Somehow or another, it's easier to just kind of suffer it and let days turn into weeks and weeks turn into months and months turn into years. But the problem is you're creating a history that predicts your future. And if you want a new future, you got to make different choices. And you can't, it's clear to me you can't do that on your own. Because you guys are so entrenched in this behavior right now that if you just went back home and said, well, you know, boy, Dr. Phil really put a sharp point on this and we really see it, the chance that you're going to really make a change without restructuring and reprogramming and getting additional help and support is almost zero. But as I said, I've never been under the misapprehension that we do like 1-hour cures up here. This is a beginning. I've told you what I think and what I see. And we have wonderful resources available here. And we help all of our guests after the show with that. And I've already, in my mind, got a to-do list of things that need to happen. And I've already had Anthony Haskins, our resource director, working on this before we even started the show. And I'm going to double his list up now. And I think a lot of this begins with you and this alcohol issue. I'm uncomfortable with it. I think you need to deal with that. And I think these guys have a lot to do as well, getting some clarity in their thinking, learning how to deal with their anger and their frustration, a lot of those things. So we're going to put that on our to-do list, and we're going to be meeting about that right after the show. You can log on to drphil.com for a lot more on the right way to raise your teens. And don't be surprised when you say right ways to raise teens, you look down and it starts talking about 3- and 4-year-olds, because that's when you start raising teens. And trust me, parents, you're not raising kids, you're raising adults. They're just in transit. Remember to look for us on Facebook and Twitter as well. Thanks for being here. So long.